listening to This Week in Big Sky Basketball as we take you around the conference for all the latest in Big Sky hoops. Now, here's your host, Scott Gerard.
Hey, welcome in. It's another edition of This Week in Big Sky Basketball. I'm Scott Gerard. Hey, it's a battle for the top spot in the Big Sky standings, and it continues on as we near the midway point of the conference play. On the women's side, 4 teams are currently contenders, with Northern Colorado, Idaho, Idaho State, and Portland State leading the charge with 2 losses each. For the men, Northern Colorado, Montana, and Weber State all hold a 2-game lead on the rest of the conference with 2 losses in league play. Our guests today include Idaho senior guard Mikayla Ferenz, also Portland State men's basketball coach Barret Peery. Also Colter Nuanez of Skyline Sports will discuss some of the big storylines from around the league. So let's take a look at what's happening in Big Sky women's basketball. It's a 4-way tie atop the top spot in the conference, and it remains to be the big storyline of the season. Northern Colorado, Idaho State, Portland State, and Idaho all sitting in with 2 losses in conference play. Currently sitting on top of the table with an 8-2 record is Northern Colorado. Bears picked up a pair of wins this week against Northern Arizona and Southern Utah. Savannah Smith and Allie Meyer continue to be a double threat for the Bears, with Meyer recording a 15-point and 12-rebound performance against Southern Utah. Savannah Smith netted 30 points against Northern Arizona to help the Bears go 2-0 last week. Idaho State may have flown under the radar for most of the season, but now teams are starting to take notice as the Bengals are sitting second in the standings with a 7-2 record in conference. Bengals went 2-0 last week thanks to the play of Grace Kenyon, who scored a double-double in both games, averaging 15 points and 10.5 rebounds on the week. But what's most impressive is that play of the defense of Idaho State. They held Montana to 34 points and then followed that up by holding Montana State to just 43 points. Portland State went 1-1 last week after losing a close, hard-fought game to Idaho on Saturday night. Vikings had a 6-game winning streak come to an end in that 80-78 loss to the Vandals. Despite the loss, Portland State still had 4 players in double figures, with Sydney Riley's 19 points leading the way. Idaho, again, picking up that crucial win to stay in the hunt for the top spot in the standings before the Vandals showed down to the Vikings. Idaho defeated Sacramento State 104-66 on Thursday night, leading the charge. Mikayla Ferenz, who's the conference leading scorer, averaging 21.7 points per game, good enough to rank her 8th nationally in that category. And she joins us now. Mikayla, how are you?
Great. How are you doing?
Doing well. Good to catch up with you again. You're playing some really good all-around basketball. Your team is playing well. Talk us through about what's been going on well for this team to have you guys firing on all cylinders right now.
Yeah, I think we've been playing really well. I think what's been great, especially this past week, is we've had so many people in double figures. I think against Sac State we had 5 people in double figures. So it was really good to have contributions from everyone across the board, and I think that builds our confidence going into the second half of the season.
Yeah, you talk about players in double figures. Obviously, that was the case against Portland State. Obviously, you're doing well in the scoring category, but everybody else is as well. What's it? I mean, is it kind of an unselfish attitude among the team? Everybody's sharing and everybody's getting their points?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think that's what makes us so good this year, is that we just have people who can step up any night. And, I mean, if I'm having an off night, I know that my teammates are going to kind of pick me up and help me out. So I think that's just what makes us really strong.
You know, this conference is so crazy from top to bottom. I mean, I can't imagine the amount of work that goes in week after week and game after game to prepare for conference opponents. What's that like, and what's that grind like for a player to make sure that you're ready to play for every single game?
Yeah, I've played in the league for a long time, so I kind of know what's coming every week, but I think it's just kind of giving all of our new players a little look into who we play, and it's just make sure we're focusing for the scout every week. Our coaches do a really good job about scouting and preparing us and making us watch film, and I think it's just coming focused every week and ready to implement the scout and then transferring that to the games.
What's it like? You mentioned you've been around this conference for a while. I remember watching you play in the conference tournament when you were a sophomore, and it seems like, wow, she's going to be around this league for a long, long time. How quickly has it gone by? Because now you're looking at the light at the end of the tunnel there.
Yes, so quickly. We try not to think about it, but yeah, I mean, it sounds cliche, but it feels like just yesterday I was a freshman, and sometimes I still feel like a freshman, and yeah, it's gone by so fast.
You guys played a really difficult non-conference schedule to start that season. Do you think it kind of helped you get ready for a conference season?
Oh, definitely. It was kind of rough there, and sometimes you question, why are we doing this to ourselves? Why are we playing teams like Stanford? But no, it definitely pays off playing against teams that are so well coached and so good nationally.
What do you want to? What does this team need to do to make sure you're playing your best basketball going into that conference tournament in Boise?
I think just keep getting better every day. I think we've done a really good job, especially with the non-conference preseason that we had. We struggled a little bit, but we kept getting better, and I think keep getting contributions from everyone around the board. I think our starters and even our bench players have had really good weeks, and I think if we keep that going, then we'll be good.
What was it about the University of Idaho that jumped out at you that made you feel like this is where I want to play college hoops?
Well, it's very close to where I live, so it's only like 2 hours to my home, and that was really important to me. I wanted to make sure that my parents and my siblings could come watch me play, and then definitely the team. When I came on my visit, I just felt like I fit in, and it was definitely a family atmosphere, which really sold it for me.
Your dad was a basketball coach, correct? Or still is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he helps my mom out, and then he coached my sister and I in high school.
And that's right. Your mom is is she still the head coach at Whitman?
Yes.
So what's it like? What are those conversations like around when you go home for dinner? Is she dissecting your game, or does she kind of lay off a little bit?
My parents were actually really good about kind of separating basketball and then being parents. Like when we were home, we didn't talk about it, but as soon as I got on the court or we went and shot and stuff, they would kind of give me pointers. But yeah, no, they were very good about not bringing it home and criticizing me at the dinner table.
So obviously you want to keep playing as long as possible for whoever will let you play. But when it's all said and done, is coaching something that appeals to you since it's been part of the family?
I think so. Yeah, it's kind of a family thing, and I can't imagine not doing something with sports. So I definitely think coaching could be in my future. Well,
Mikayla, this has been a great conversation. Thanks so much for your time, and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Yeah, thank you.
That's Mikayla Ferenz from the University of Idaho. All right, for the last 30 years, Sports Graphics has been a leader in providing signage and services for the top professional and amateur sporting events across the country. That's why the Big Sky Conference is proud to work with Sports Graphics for all their signage at Big Sky Championships. Sports Graphics, proud sponsor of the Big Sky. Take a break, come back. You'll hear from Portland State head coach Barret Peery. Also discuss what's been going on in men's basketball around the Big Sky. It's all straight ahead right here on This Week in Big Sky. CenturyLink Arena plays host to the 2019 Big Sky Men's and Women's Basketball Championships in Boise. Postseason college basketball is back in Boise, and we have your front row seat to the event. The women's tournament will be held March 11th through the 15th, while the men's championship will take place March 13th through the 16th. The wait is over. 22 teams, 20 games, 2 champions. Don't miss your chance to buy tickets for this fun-filled week of basketball. Tickets are on sale now at BigSkyInBoise.com.
Traveling to watch your favorite team, or you just need a weekend away? Let My Place be your place for both. My Place Hotels is proud to be the official hotel of the Big Sky Conference. And now you can use booking code BIGSKY19 to receive 19% off your stay at myplacehotels.com.
You're listening to This Week in Big Sky Basketball.
Welcome on back. Another segment here on This Week in Big Sky Basketball. I'm Scott Gerard. 2019 Big Sky Men's and Women's Basketball Championships presented by My Place Hotels are headed to Boise, Idaho. Visit BigSkyInBoise.com to purchase your tickets and get hotel information. The Big Sky Conference will take over Boise March 11th through 16th. Want you out there. Let's see you out there at those games. Now, if you need a hotel for work or just right away, with over 44 hotels open and more on the way, I want to be your home away from home. My Place Hotels, proud to be the official hotel of the Big Sky Conference. All right, so let's take a look on the men's side in the Big Sky. 3 teams currently have their sights set on that Big Sky regular season title as Northern Colorado, Montana, and Weber State all each sit with 2 losses each. Northern Colorado enters the week at 8-2. Montana and Weber State sitting at 7-2. Bears went 2-0 on the week to return to the top spot with wins over Southern Utah and Northern Arizona. Big Sky leading scorer Jordan Davis continued to shine on the hardwood, netting a career-high 36 points on 14 of 17 shooting. Montana took down first-place Weber State on Saturday in Missoula with a 75-68 victory. Senior post Jamar Ako was the key for the Grizz with a pair of double-double performances and wins over the Wildcats and Idaho State. He averaged 23.5 points and 13.5 rebounds per game. And Weber State defeated Montana State in Bozeman to earn a split on the road this week. Bobcats were victorious against Idaho State with 31 points coming from Harold Frey and 26 from Tyler Hall. Eastern Washington and Northern Arizona each earned weekly splits, with the Eagles defeating Sacramento State in overtime and falling to Portland State on the road. NAU claimed an overtime victory over Southern Utah as home record at home to record, a season split against the Thunderbirds. And how about a 2-0 week for Portland State, giving the Vikings some momentum as they gear up for a 4-game road trip. And coming here to join us and talk a little bit about it, Vikings men's coach Barret Peery. Coach, how are you?
Good, Scotty. How are you?
Good. Always fun to catch up with you, Coach. You snapped that 3-game skid with a couple big wins. Talk us through those games and how impressed you were with your team.
I was pleased that we came home and played the right way. We had a tough stretch when we went to Southern Utah and NAU. We turned the ball over horribly. I think we left town, a little disappointed in dropping that overtime game here to Weber. Very good team, but it kind of broke our hearts a little bit. Slowed our momentum down from when we had just come off that road win at Montana. So, our guys bounced back and had a great week against Eastern Washington and Idaho. But as you're seeing in these standings, anybody can beat anybody, and each week's going to be interesting and exciting because, there's a lot of teams that are really similar and battling and getting healthy and this and that. For our team, our big thing has just been trying to be healthy and get a consistent lineup out there, which we're trying to do, and we're getting a little closer to that now.
How difficult has it been trying to keep that lineup together with the injuries that you've dealt with?
It's been very difficult. We just haven't had a very smooth road and much momentum when it comes to juggle the lineup. We've just, it's just, bumps and bruises and sicknesses and things like that to where we've had to juggle it a lot, and I think that's kind of hurt our consistency. But I thought our guys were really good at home last week, but, now we hop on a flight tomorrow and come down and see Randy and the boys, and they're always good at home, and they got a great team again.
Well, one of the fun things, I always enjoy watching your team play because of that defensive pressure. You're second in the nation last year in steals per game. You're currently ranked in the top 10 in that category. What's been the key for your squad in buying in on that defensive front and continuing to bring that pressure year in and year out?
Probably the biggest thing is if you don't do it, you don't get to play. But other than that, I think the guys have bought into our culture. We're in year 2 right now. We have a lot of good things going on here. We opened up our new arena this year, and that's been a fantastic new home for us and kind of been a game changer as far as how people look at Portland State, which we hope to continue to build on that. But we got good kids. We got kids that really play hard and are into what we're doing and spending time at it. But they work hard. They're good guys, and I think our system is one that's easy to buy into for kids. I think we play a way that guys want to play. We play fast at both ends of the floor and try to be very up-tempo and create opportunities to score through offense and defense.
It's funny. I'm sure when you're out recruiting, there's probably a lot of teams or a lot of players out there that say they want to play that system, but then don't realize the work that has to go in to play in that kind of a system and that kind of tempo. Do you find that to be the case sometimes?
Oh, you bet. You have to sift through that and figure out whether you're getting fooled or not, for sure, because, not that every coach doesn't want to have kids that have great motor and great energy, but that'll stand out a lot with how we play if you don't do it. Guys have to have great energy, great effort, be athletic, and really want to play fast and play hard. And, like you said, we try to play 94 feet the whole time. Every possession, miss or make, we want to be up under you and pressuring you and try to create opportunities.
All right, so, Coach, you begin that 4-game road swing this week. Yeah, Weber State, Idaho State, you talk about coming down here to face Randy's crew. But 4 games on the road, that's a tough stretch for your team. How do you anticipate your team's going to handle this kind of adversity?
Well, we've been used to it. This first half of the league schedule, we're looking forward to the back half of it where we have 6 out of 8 at home. But, we just got to continue to weather the storm and try to find our windows.
You're 6 weeks away from the Big Sky tournament in Boise. What's your point of emphasis? What do your guys need to work on? What do you need to be ready for to be playing your best basketball coming in March?
It sounds like coach speak, but we really are just trying to get better every day. Our guys have really improved on a lot of different things, but, we've continued to try to talk about we got to take care of the ball better. We think we're pretty good at going to get it on the offensive glass. We're always very good at that, but if we turn it over and don't even give ourselves a chance to go get extra possessions, and that hurts us. So when we haven't played well, it's because we've turned the ball over too much. We want to turn people over, but we won't want to turn it over that much, and so we're trying to clean that up, get better at that, and then just be consistent in how we guard.
Coach, you're one of our favorites. We appreciate you coming on, and look forward to catching up with you again here very soon. Good luck this week.
Can't wait. It's going to be a fun finish to the season, and we'll see you in Boise.
You got it. There you go. Portland State men's head coach Barret Peery right here on This Week in Big Sky Basketball. When we come back, we'll preview the weekend in the Big Sky. We'll also have a visit with Colter Nuanez of Skyline Sports. We'll also tell you where you can find all the Big Sky games on television this weekend. Stay with us. You're listening to This Week in Big Sky Basketball. Pluto TV is your one-stop shop for Big Sky action. The leading free internet television service in America will stream live sporting events, including up to 700 football, men's and women's basketball, volleyball, and selected soccer, softball, and track and field events. Simply go to Pluto TV to find games from several different sports. Pluto TV is your one-stop shop for all Big Sky action. The 2019 Big Sky Men's and Women's Basketball Championships are headed to Boise. Buy your tickets now for a fun-filled week with basketball for all to enjoy. Purchase your tickets today by visiting BigSkyInBoise.com. That's BigSkyInBoise.com.
Now, back to This Week in Big Sky Basketball.
Welcome on back. Final segment of the show here on This Week in Big Sky Basketball. I'm Scott Girard. Big Sky Conference will air all of its live stream sport events on Pluto TV for free. For up to 700 football, men's and women's basketball, volleyball, selected soccer, softball, and track and field events, all Big Sky basketball games can be seen on Watch Big Sky and Pluto TV. All right, so let's start on the women's side in Big Sky women's hoops this week. Southern Utah, Northern Arizona welcome in Eastern Washington and Idaho, while out west Portland State and Sacramento State play host to Weber State and Idaho State. In other action, Montana State hosts rival Montana before closing out the week with a home game against Northern Colorado. Then on the men's side, Weber State and Idaho State play host to Portland State and Sacramento State, while Southern Utah and Northern Arizona travel to Eastern Washington and Idaho. Montana State hosts Montana in a showdown in Bozeman before traveling east to Northern Colorado to round out this week's action. And again, remember, every single Big Sky game can be seen on Pluto TV and WatchBigSky.com for free and in high definition. Whether you're watching on your tablet, smartphone, laptop, or desktop, you can access Big Sky Conference basketball anywhere you go. All right, time to welcome in Colter Nuanez of Skyline Sports. Colter, how are you, man?
Doing great. How you doing, Scotty?
I'm doing well. You look at the standings in both the men's and the women's side, and you just see a massive traffic jam atop those conferences. Anything really jump out at you or surprise you in last week's action and some of the performances that stood out to you?
Well, it seems like on the men's side, Sacramento State's turning a corner, even though that they are towards the bottom of the standings. They gave Eastern Washington everything they could handle, and I think that's going to be the thing that really has an impact on the league. It's not necessarily who beats the top teams, but it's all about who, between number 4 and number 10, who can steal some games on the road, who can capitalize on if they have the short week or the long week. That could be the thing that determines just not only what teams can make a push, but then also what teams that are kind of hanging on for that 3rd and 4th and 5th seeds, what happens to them as well. So I think everybody's adjusting to the schedule. That's been the main talking point that we've talked about each and every week here is just the 20-game schedule and just the differences. Sometimes you play 3 and 6 days. Sometimes you play 4 and 8. Sometimes you only play once every 9 days. So how do you take advantage of that? But this weekend marks the midpoint, and so by the end of this weekend, everybody will have played their 4 and 8. Everybody will have had their long week. So now the second half, I think people will be able to adjust to it. But incredibly competitive on both sides as expected, and it'll be fun to see just the second half of this league schedule.
I know you're knee deep in it there in Montana as those schools face off this week in the conference's biggest rivalry. Both schools faring well on the men's and women's side this year. How do you see those games playing out?
Yeah, Cat Grizz is going to be very, very interesting, especially on the women's side, because I think that the Montana and Montana State women are two of the biggest mysteries in the league right now. They have been very Jekyll and Hyde, both of them. Montana State goes on the road and wins at Northern Colorado. That's a huge win. But then they lose in overtime to Eastern Washington, and they didn't play hardly any defense in that game. They gave up almost 90 points. Violet Capri-Morrow, she had 37 points. She got to the rim whenever she wanted. So that's going to be a huge adjustment for Montana State. They have to play defense. They're going to score. If they don't play defense, they're going to have long nights. And the other side of the thing, for the Lady Grizz, they're really good defensively. It's all about how they shoot. You see them score 34 points in Pocatello on Thursday. They didn't shoot it worth a lick. But then they come out and they score 75 against Weber State on Saturday, And so it's kind of contrasting styles, but I think both of these teams at their best can compete with anybody in the league. You saw that with the Lady Grizz beating Idaho and Montana State beating Northern Colorado. But these teams, when they don't play well, they can also lose to anybody in the league, as they both lost to Eastern Washington, who's kind of a middle-of-the-pack team right now. So I think we're going to learn a lot about both teams coming out of the Cat Grizz women's game. On the men's side, the Grizz are so interesting because when they play their top level of an opponent, they play at their top level. And you saw that on Saturday against Weber State. They've also had tremendous performances against South Dakota State during the non-conference. Northern Colorado, they beat them by 25 on the road. But then sometimes when they're playing the middle of the road teams in the league, they scoreboard watch and they let teams back in the game. So Travis DeKeer getting his guys completely engaged for the duration, I don't think that'll be a problem in the rivalry game. But Montana, when they're at their best, they're spectacular. And Montana State, when they're at their best, they're spectacular in a completely different fashion. They can rip the net as well as anybody in the league. I think they've scored 90 points 5 or 6 times this year, scored 104 against Idaho State. So when they shoot it, they can just straight out score you. But I know Brian Fish will tell you that it's all about stopping the ball and stopping penetration, because when they don't do that, then sometimes they give up 95 points like they did against Weber State last Thursday. So a pair of the Cat Grizz game is definitely two different games that is two completely contrasting styles on both the men's and women's sides.
On the women's side, we talked to Mikayla Ferenz in our first segment, and she talked about that win against Portland State. Just how impressed were you with the Vandals and their victory over Portland State?
Well, I think when you look at that box score, too, Taylor Pierce and Mikayla Ferenz are, in my opinion, the two most dangerous scorers in the league. And as they go, Idaho goes. But you look at that box score, and you got 3 other girls in double-figure scoring. That's huge for Idaho. To win against one of the best teams in the conference in Portland State without Ferenz or Pierce scoring 20 points, that's huge. Because Portland State, they play that 2-3 zone. They have more length than anybody in the league. They dare you to shoot a bunch of shots. And the fact that the two Splash sisters were disciplined enough to move the ball and get their teammates involved, that's a huge step forward for Idaho. That's a really good knockout. That's a really good conference win.
Yeah, no doubt. I want to get your thoughts on the rest of the nation. What stood out to you this year in college basketball, and who are some of the dangerous teams that we should be talking about when March rolls around?
Well, it's so fascinating because as we've seen college basketball evolve, and one thing I do like about covering the Big Sky is the prevalence of one-and-dones is non-existent. The prevalence of the young guys are going to be in and out and go to the NBA, that's non-existent. Because you look at the top 5 in the polls right now, you got a team like Tennessee, who's a veteran-laden team. They look like an old-school team. They play from the inside out. They got a bunch of older guys. And I think that even though they're number 1 in the nation, they are definitely the surprise in the country, because I know people thought they were going to be good. I just didn't think I don't know if people knew they were going to be 19-1 good, number 1 in the country 20 games in. But I love the Admiral Schofield kid. I think he's super, super tough. And that win against Gonzaga earlier this year, that's going to really pay dividends for them. And Gonzaga's the other team. I think that, with Tilly on the bench, or with him out, they really got some contributions from some other guys. Now that he's back in, it's kind of like a Boston Celtics scenario where they're trying to figure out how to fit so many good players into a concise rotation. But I think Gonzaga and their veteran presence, they'll be right there at the end. But then if you're going to ask me who's the most talented team, I think there's no doubt that Duke is the most talented team. It's just that Coach K is going through it for the first time ever, where he's trying to harness that talent night in and night out, because you got 4 freshmen, and even though Zion Williamson is going to be the number 1 pick and R.J. Barrett's probably going to be the number 2 pick, those guys are still going to be volatile just because they are still teenagers. So I think those three teams are kind of the front runners right now. And then the other guy that I think is grabbing headlines across the country the last couple of weeks, and well-deserved, is the Ja Morant kid at Murray State. The kid's unbelievable. He's leading the country in scoring and assists. He's a highlight reel waiting to happen. He's going to win the dunk contest the moment he gets into the NBA. But the college basketball right now, it's really fun because you do have some of these blue bloods that have young rosters, which gives them a new, unique challenge. We've never seen this from Duke before. They also have some really veteran teams with some proven coaches like Rick Barnes at Tennessee and Mark Few at Gonzaga. So, as always, March is going to be a really exciting time.
No doubt about it. Colter, appreciate your time, and look forward to catching up again here soon.
Hey, appreciate it, guys.
Colter Nuanez, Skyline Sports, right here on This Week in Big Sky Basketball. I want to thank him as well as Mikayla Ferenz and Portland State men's head coach Barret Peery. Also, big thanks to our producer Lloyd Cole and the executive producers of This Week in Big Sky Basketball, Blake Barrington, as well as Carl Hunt. Enjoy the games this week. Be back with you next week for another edition of This Week in Big Sky Basketball.